this video, we're diving into a case so disturbing, even the police struggled to accept it was real. What started as a routine call quickly unraveled into a nightmare no one saw coming. This is a true crime story, filled with horror, disbelief, and the truth. Let's get started. He seemed like a savior, someone who would show up when women were at their worst and give them a job, money, and a safe place to stay. They could cry on his shoulder, and he was always there for them. But his kindness cost him something. What seemed like help turned out to be a well-planned trap. He was in charge of where they went, who they talked to, and what they did before they knew it. If they tried to get away, he would do anything to get them back. He would follow them around, torture them, and make their lives a living nightmare. The women around him started to disappear one by one. Some people went missing without a sign, while others were found in horrible conditions. Over and over, he should have been caught, but he kept getting away and always found someone else to hurt. What was the most upsetting part? He wrote down everything. He made movies with the bodies of his victims and liked watching them again, sometimes with their sad families. This man wasn't just trying to help. He was much worse, and he was hiding right in front of us. His name was Michael S. A lot more time should have been spent on stopping this case. He was always able to get away from the law. It was terrible what he did to those people. The public only knows some of the names and identities in this case, as is common in Germany. Beginning in early 2019, Anna S., a woman in her mid-30s, was having a hard time figuring out how to live her life. She had always wanted to be a nanny, but for some reason, that door had closed. Rather, she was stuck in a call center, making just enough money to get by. Anna had a peaceful life in her small flat in Gelsenkirchen, Germany. She shared it with her 2 cats and dogs. Her twin sister Edith, who lived 5 minutes away, was the person she talked to the most. Every day, even if it was just for a cup of tea, they saw each other. After that, Anna's life was all about work and home until she met Michael S. They met on a dating app. In the beginning, Michael seemed to be everything Anna was missing. He was sure of himself, successful, and his life seemed well put together, which was something Anna carved into him deeply. Most importantly, he seemed nice. He drove a nice car and came from a rich family that owned several homes in the nearby city of Krefeld. He wasn't very good looking. He was fat and going bald, but Anna didn't mind, and they became close very quickly. Michael quickly learnt that Anna was having trouble at work and made her an offer. She could work at his mother's hotel and learn the ropes while building a career. She said no when he told her, "I want to help you out financially." She wished to go her own way. In the end, she put Michael in touch with her sister Edith and Dirk, Edith's husband. The 4 of them got together one night to celebrate Michael's birthday. They had drinks in his flat, which was in a building owned by his mother. But Edith and Dirk didn't like something about him. He was loud, only cared about himself, and every talk seemed to go back to him. They put up with him because they cared about Anna, but they were really wary of him. Michael kept giving Anna money as the months went by, while she thought about what to do next. But after 6 months together, she chose to break up with him. The breakup was friendly, and they agreed to stay friends for a while. It's possible that she had started to see what her family saw. The next 3 months, everything looked fine, until Anna's flat caught on fire one evening. As firefighters ran to put out the fire, thick black smoke rose from the windows. When they put out the fire, the damage was already very bad. Anna's house was destroyed, and her dogs, whom she loved, died. Anna couldn't get rid of a bad feeling, even though she was sad and lost. How did this fire begin? She didn't want to believe the thought that kept coming to her mind. Michael. But he wouldn't do something so horrible, right? Alla and her family didn't know that Michael S. had a scary past, but went back decades and started long before they met. It began with a woman named Christine in 1997. She began an affair when she was 22 years old and married but unhappy in her marriage. In the eyes of her friends, the man she had fallen in love with wasn't very interesting. Michael was a guy who was fat, balding, loud, and rude. At the time, he was 24 years old and worked as a truck driver at the metro factory, where Christine also worked. Their relationship was crazy. They went to clubs, parties, and spent a lot of time together at house parties. They could never be apart. They were always hanging out together. Not long after, Christine moved in with Michael at the hotel where his mother stays. This is where things started to fall apart. Christine and Michael's mother were the two most important people in his life. His mum always came first. His friends later talked about how unsettlingly close they were. They said Michael called her several times a day, never disobeyed her, and seemed obsessed with one thing: having a baby with his mother. Christine was strong-willed and independent, and she didn't like it when his mother got involved in their lives. As the tension rose, discussions got heated, but there was something else, something small at first, that would cause things to get much worse. It was Christine's dog, who moved in with her when she did. It was her pet, something she loved, and it was always with her. Until one day, it was gone. She came home from work to find the dog gone. Michael gave a strange reason. He said he took it to a friend's house. Christine tried to find this friend, but she couldn't find them. They were unknown to everyone. That's when she knew Michael had hurt her dog. She looked for her dog at every pet shelter in the area, but she couldn't find him. That was the last straw for her. She broke up with him right away and went back to her husband, who forgave her for having an affair. She was ready to move on with her husband and thought that was the end of that part of her life. She was wrong, though. After a few months, on August 19th, 1997, Christine was on her way to work when she realized something terrible. Her brakes weren't working. She was able to steer her car into a garage without hitting anything. When the workers looked at it, they found something very scary. Someone had put water in place of her brake fluid. The problem wasn't with the machine. Someone was trying to kill her, and she knew who it was. In the hopes that it would end, she told the cops about Michael, but it only made him more angry. Things were about to get really bad. Michael didn't like being turned down. Christine stopped seeing him after they broke up, and he became a scary force in her life. He started to follow her around and was seen standing outside her flat or driving slowly by her place of work at all hours. He wouldn't leave her alone and kept begging her to take him back. When trying to convince them didn't work, threats, both physical and mental, started. His mean behavior got worse to the point where Christine thought she had to change jobs and go to a sister plant to get away from him. Michael did not want to let her go, though. They were seen laughing and chatting as they left their flat on the night of October 2nd, 1998, getting ready for a night out. They were back together after her husband forgave her for having an affair. They were ready to try again. After a few hours, around 6 a.m., Christine's voice woke up a neighbor in the flat below. "No!" she yelled. "Stop!" The neighbor was on the fence because they thought it was just rough closeness between the couple. So they turned over and went back to sleep. They had no idea that a killing was going on around them. Michael had just walked in the door. Christine had already gone to bed and was starting to take off her clothes. He broke into her flat and was waiting there. What happened next was really horrible. Christine's body had been stabbed 126 times when it was found on her bed, which was just a cushion on the floor. The knife went through her body, the cushion, and into the floor below, because the attack was so strong. The person who stabbed her had hit her in the eyes, the head, and the middle of her body. She had a deep, planned cut in her throat. It wasn't just crime. There was anger too. Christine's husband knocked on the neighbor's door the next morning, his face as white as a ghost. He asked in a whisper, "Can you call the police?" "My wife is dead. She's lying up there with her throat slit," he added. When the police arrived, her clothes were nicely folded next to her bed. Her alarm was set for the next day, like she knew she was going to wake up. The door was locked from the inside, though. The police knew that for sure. Christine knew who had killed her. Soon, Michael S. was seen as the most likely suspect. Blue fibers from his pants were found to match those on Christine's pillow, which was very strong proof against him. During questioning, he first said he didn't know where she lived. But when shown proof, he changed his story and said he had been there that night, but he still refused to accept he had killed her. Michael went to court in February 1999. He kept quiet and refused to speak during the whole thing. Even though the crime was very violent, he was only found guilty of killing and given a sentence of 11 years, which is shockingly light. He asked to be let out of jail early several times, but each time his request was turned down. Even though he was in jail, Michael didn't seem to feel bad about what he did. She was only 23 years old, and this was just the start of Michael's crime run. Michael S. got out of jail in October 2009, when he was 36 years old. He stayed out of the public eye for 3 years while on probation. He picked up where he left off and moved back in with his mother. But his old habits came back as soon as his probation was over. Michael started to visit people who worked on the streets and picked up different women in his car. Things changed when he met her. At first, it was just for business. He came in often. Michael craved more, though. He began to tell her private things and ask her personal questions, which made her feel like he cared. "What are you interested in?" He told her. "You're so pretty." Over time, they went from being clients and workers to being more loving. They went on dates, watched films, and had drinks together. Soon, she was staying at his place. Michael had already moved into an apartment on the ground floor of his mother's apartment building by that time. In the same way that Anna S. did, Michael became protective and obsessed. He did not want to see any other day. Like what he did with Anna S., he offered her a job, an apprenticeship, and a stable job at his mother's hotel. Anything to get her to hold on to him more. He tightened his grip, but because he felt too much, he found a way to stay away. She told him she had a son at home when she didn't. This would give you a reason to leave if he got too much. She told herself this was a good thing for a while. She works in a field where it's hard to find people who really seem to care. The next day was Valentine's Day, 2013. Michael was at his flat that night. He made her dinner, and then they watched TV together on the bed. Everything looked fine. She then got up to brush her teeth and get ready for bed. Before she left the bathroom, she had no idea that her life would never be the same again. Michael stood in the doorway and waited. He turned to face her with a wrench in one hand and a pepper spray can in the other. He lunged at her before she could do anything. When the first blow from the wrench hit her, she fell to the ground, knocked out. After that, there was a fight to stay alive, that lasted almost 30 minutes. She hit, kicked, and scratched him with all her strength. But Michael was stronger. He threw her on the couch, tied her up, and beat her up. She thought she was going to die. But Michael wasn't done. She was blinded by the pepper spray. And then he pulled out a stun gun and shocked her several times while hitting her with the wrench. It was a cruel and heartless act. But all of a sudden, he stopped. She knew this was her only chance, even though it hurt so much. She needed to calm down. "Why are you doing this to me?" she asked. Michael started to cry. He told her she was lying about her son, through his tears. He was mad because he knew she didn't have one. Quickly thinking went along with it. When she said she was sorry, she said she understood now and felt bad about lying. If he let her go, she said, things would be fine again. It was impossible for Michael not to believe her. He took her off the ropes and insisted on driving her home to make sure she was safe. She must have been scared the whole time they were driving because she didn't know if he would change his mind. He didn't, though. She called her brother as soon as she felt safe. He was shocked when he saw her. He took her straight to the police station without any thought. Things didn't go as planned at the stop, though. When she told the police about the brutal attack, they didn't believe her. One person even laughed at her and said, "Look, you're a street worker," as if being violent was part of her job. Nobody else was charged, so Michael was let go. He was never free again, though. She was scared to leave her flat because she was sure he would come back. After that, the text messages started. Michael sent her many messages pleading for forgiveness. To get her to come back, he sent her flowers and money in her bank account, but didn't want to be with him. Then she got a text message from a number she didn't know. It said, "Your life is in danger." She thought at first that Michael was trying to trick her again, but the sender insisted it was real. Someone said Michael had called and offered $5,000 to take her to a building and abuse her. Still not sure, they wanted proof. A picture of handwritten directions in Michael's handwriting was sent to her. He had written down where she usually hung out and her home address. The building he wanted her taken to was where Michael used to work. Michael was supposed to take over once she got there. It wasn't fear or a trick on my mind. Michael was going to kill her. The person agreed right away to go with her to the police station to report what happened. They went to the train stop. This time, the officials finally paid attention. Michael was caught because he had a history of killing people. The case went to court the next year. That's when I learnt about Michael's horrible past and how he had already spent 11 years for manslaughter. Became aware that she had been inches from dying that night, but justice failed again. Even though Michael said he wasn't guilty, he was still given a protection order and jail time for 2.5 years. But he appealed his sentence again, saying he wasn't guilty. The court was too busy with cases they thought were more important, so his next court date was pushed back too far. Michael was free for 5 years, ready to find his next target. Soon after, Michael S. met another woman named Stephanie L., who went by the name Steffi. She was only 23 years old and a new mother who had run away to Cheld to get away from a dangerous person. She had to get back on her feet, make her life safe, and then she would bring her son to live with her. But she was desperate right now. Who is always there to help a woman when she is in trouble? Michael became a regular customer while Steffi worked as a street helper. He wanted more right away, though. He gave her what he always does, a place to stay, a job as an assistant at his mum's hotel, steady work, and most of all, a new life. Steffi thought it sounded like getting saved. This man was ready to give her everything she had. She agreed to the deal. She moved up to the apartment building's top floor, where Michael had been living on the ground floor. She was thrilled at first. She wrote on the internet that things were finally getting better in her life. She felt hopeful again and was set on making it work. Michael had other ideas, though. We now know that he never wanted to help. He just wanted to own her. Michael didn't like himself because of how he looked, how much he depended on his mom for money, or how he couldn't do anything on his own. He was broken on the inside. He gathered women like prizes, as if having them around proved he was real. He was most interested in one thing: having a baby for his mother. But when these women turned him down because they didn't fit into his dream, he lost it and changed into someone else. Stephanie asked Michael one night if she could borrow 20 euros. That was all it took. He lost it in a rage. Afterwards, Steffi said that Michael dragged her into her room, pressed himself against her, hit her, and tortured her to get money. It could have been about something else besides the money that had been building up inside him for a while. He might not have been able to use Steffi in his plan. Steffi told a friend about the attack, and that friend told her right away to call the cops. The cops did nothing, just like they did with the person before her. The report was taken, but Michael wasn't arrested right away, which I think is strange because he has a history of violence. Steffi had no choice but to go back to the apartment block where her attacker lived. Not long after that, she got a letter from Michael's mum. She got a clear message. She had to take back what she told the cops if she wanted to keep her house and her job. It said, "We are peaceful people who simply want a peaceful life." Then Steffi disappeared all of a sudden. Her friend tried to call her but couldn't get through. Calls and messages were not returned. Concerned, the friend talked to Michael. When she asked, "Have you seen her?" he just replied, "No." She hadn't been heard from in days, but then she was found. She was locked in her room and found dead on her couch. Michael said it wasn't his fault. Toxicology reports said she had probably overdosed on strong drugs, but it wasn't looked into as a crime. However, wasn't it a bit too handy? Michael had a past. Women kept going missing around him. He got away with it again, though. Since Steffi is no longer with us, and we know that he has a violent past, we go back to Anna's story. Her flat was burned down, and she thinks that Michael did it. Michael S. tried over and over again to get back into Anna's life over the next few months. He offered to buy her a new car and sent her money because he knew she was having a hard time with money. He even got her a new dog, as if that would make the pain of losing everything in the fire go away. Anna didn't believe that he really wanted to make her happy. She knew the trick was a trick and tried to cut off all touch once more. She really thought he was the one who burned down her flat. Michael didn't give up and came up with a new idea. So he tried to make himself look like the answer to all her problems, even though he knew she was still having money problems and hated her job. He told her about his rich aunt, who lived in a different country this time. She was grateful and kind, he said. Michael told Anna to get in touch with her and talk about her problems, and Anna did. The aunt replied with a smile and asked what her dreams were. At the same time, Anna told her the truth. She wanted to open a nursery. She hoped to own a house and have children one day. Then, the aunt did something amazing. She offered to help make it happen. A check in the huge amount of $754,000 showed up. There was no way Anna could believe it. This was her chance. She would never find out, though, that the check was a lie. The money was fake. There was no rich aunt. Michael did everything he could to control her and get her back into his life. But this didn't make her change her mind. Anna did not want to be with him. She would not trust him again, no matter how much money he offered or how he tried to trick her. This made him very angry. Then Michael made one last move to try to get her to come back. He tried desperately to play on Anna's feelings by telling her that he was going to end everything. It worked. Anna agreed to check on him at his flat because she was worried about him. No one would ever see her alive again. Edith, Anna's sister, sent her a message that same day. She asked Anna to come over and sit in the yard because it was a nice day. They did this almost every day. Anna quickly said yes, but she had to do something first and would be back soon. But hours went by, and Edith started to feel lost, so she sent another message. This time, Anna's phone said something strange. The tone was off, and the writing didn't sound like her. There were emojis, but Anna never used them. There was a problem, and she didn't show up that day. By morning the next day, she had stopped answering at all. Edith and her husband Dirk went to Anna's flat because they were scared. They knocked, but no one answered. Then they heard her dogs barking inside. Her dogs were very important to her, so she would never have left them alone like this. More knocks and calls to her phone didn't work. They knew something was wrong at that point. The fire department came and broke down the door. Inside, everything was fine. It was like Anna had just disappeared. Everything she owned was still there. There was a dirty plate in the sink, and her dogs were still in the flat. Edith and Dirk were worried about her and called the cops to say she was missing. The cops moved quickly when they learnt that Anna's relationship with Michael S. was having problems. They broke into his flat and looked for her everywhere. A dog that finds dead bodies was brought in, but it didn't find anything. Still, the police took his laptop and hard drive away. Michael, of course, lied. He said, "I have no idea where she is." After that, the media got engaged. Local news started to blame Michael for Anna's disappearance. The cops also thought it was true, so they kept an eye on him all the time. They even tapped his mother's hotel phone and listened in on the calls he made to her. What they heard scared them. When his mother said the charges, Michael told her, "They don't even have a body, so they don't have anything." His mother thought everything he said when he said that the cops and the media were after him. Finally, on November 26, 2019, Michael S. was caught for Anna's departure. Investigators had found strong proof against him on his hard drive and laptop, but Anna's body was still missing. When the police looked through Michael's hard drive, they found a horrifying film, one that would finally mean Anna's fate. A dead woman was seen lying on the floor, her body turned away from the camera. It was Anna. Her tattoos helped them figure her out. Not the fact that he recorded her, but what Michael did to her body was the most upsetting thing. He filmed himself, lying next to her and touching her. What's worse, he got excited in the process. Then he did something disgusting. He urinated on her, making her body look bad. There was more, though. Police also found video of Michael setting up a secret CCTV camera in Anna's flat. Michael had been watching her the whole time, and she had no idea it was there. He always knew where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing. It was scary that the camera was set up the same day that her flat caught on fire. Now, investigators thought that Michael had set fire to the flat after putting the camera there. Also, dozens of Google searches were found on the laptop. They asked things like, "What's the best way to get rid of a body? How to make someone disappear? How to hide a body permanently?" There were also dozens of movies on the hard drive that all showed the same remote field. But why did he bury Anna there? A picture of a concrete floor with what looked like a new grave was also there. Did he hide her here? As of now, there were still no answers to all the questions. Then, in December 2020, Michael S.'s trial started. Michael had already been given a sentence for his attack by this point. He had been in jail for more than a year, and now he was finally being tried for killing Anna. The police were finally catching up with him after years of scaring women. But Michael didn't say anything. It was the worst part of the trial after that. The tape of him disrespecting Anna's body had to be shown to her family, who were very upset, as proof. Michael smiled as the video played. He was having fun. He was mean until the end. Michael S. was given a life sentence, which in Germany meant 25 years in jail. He was given an extra 10 years in prison though, so he wouldn't be able to get out until he was in his 80s. Last but not least, he promised himself he would never hurt another woman. But the search for Anna's body went on, even after Michael was sentenced. Michael never said where he buried Anna's body. To give her the peace she earned, her family was dying to get her back home. They looked for years and went through the field that his drone video showed, but didn't find anything. Even though they dug up the concrete grave from his picture, Anna was still not there. Then, in March 2022, a crazy event took place. A documentary crew had started to film a true crime show about Anna's case when Michael's mother found something shocking. She was cleaning out the basement of her apartment building when she saw something strange, a wall made of much fresher concrete than the rest of the concrete, as if it had been added much later to keep something inside. She had no idea what it was. As soon as the police arrived, they broke through the concrete and found Anna inside. Michael had put her body inside the wall of his mother's basement. Anna had been lost for years, but she had finally been found. Her family could finally bury her. This case is really sad. A lot of women who said Michael hurt them were not believed, which let him keep doing it for longer. But at least some justice was done in the end. Thanks for watching. If this case left you as shocked as it did the investigators, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more true crime stories that reveal the unthinkable. Share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe.